listening to the Walt's World Podcast. Join your hosts, John and Kaley, as they banter about all things Disney, including Disney parks, resorts, dining, fashion, and movies. They'll keep you up to date with the latest Disney news and rumors, and they'll share their best tips and insight to make sure you have the best Disney vacation possible. So to all who tune into this happy place, welcome. It's the Walt's World Podcast.
Hey friends, it's October the 16th, 2018, and this is episode number 25 of the Walt's World Podcast. I'm your host, John, and with me, as she is every single week, my friend, Kaley.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Kaley, you have a special guest there with you in person. Someone we've talked about a lot.
Yeah, he's okay. I mean, he's not that special, but we'll give him his moment.
I think he's special. Hey, now. With Kaley and I this week is the one, the only, Cheddar Biscuits.
Hello, everyone.
It's going to be so hard to call you Cheddar Biscuits to your face because I'm used to calling you John, which is like your real name.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard, but we'll get through it. Okay, so the reason Cheddar Biscuits is joining us, other than the fact that he's awesome, the other reason is because Kaley and Cheddar Biscuits just got back from a trip to Disneyland for Kaley's birthday.
Woo!
Woo! The lack of excitement is real on your side. Thank you. So we're going to talk Disneyland. I know a lot of people that listen are Disney World people, but we don't want to leave you Disneyland people out of the loop either. So we're going to talk first time at Disneyland, what it was like, all the stuff you did, the good, the bad. And then before we're done, we definitely want to talk about things that Disneyland has, that Disney World has, but it's better at Disneyland, if that makes sense. So,
which is a lot.
Oh, wow. Well, that's disappointing. So let's just jump into it. So you went for your birthday, you, Cheddar Biscuits, your mom and dad, and your sister. Right? And you guys didn't stay on property. Where'd you stay?
So we stayed at the Portofino Inn and Suites in Anaheim, which is like a 15-minute walk from the park, so not too bad at all. I mean, it was just a hotel. It was just a regular hotel. So.
Oh, cool. Thanks for the description. That was great.
But I mean, we really weren't there that long. Like, we were just sleeping there at night anyways. So it wasn't really that big of a thing. We just walked there.
The best thing about it was the distance to the parks. It was probably the closest off-property hotel that you would get.
Yeah. From the side that we were on. We didn't go down the other side. Like, if you came up to Disneyland the other way. But from the side that we were on, it was like they were all, there was kind of a couple of them on that corner that we were on. So, but yeah, it was relatively close. We didn't have any issues like walking or anything.
That's one cool thing about Disneyland, because Disneyland is very different from Disney World in the sense that Disney World is like isolated from the world, everything else. But Disneyland is like smack dab in the middle of Anaheim. And there's like everything around you. So like you can stay off property and walk like you guys did, which a lot of people do, which makes sense to me. Well, let me ask you this. Did you guys do the Fast Pass thing? Because their Fast Passes are different there. Can you explain that to everybody?
So we did the Max Pass. And at first, it was confusing for me because I was the one doing it for everybody on my phone because I had everybody's tickets linked on my app. So I was kind of the one in charge of getting the Fast Passes.
No pressure.
No, right. And so I was confused at first because I thought you had to book a Fast Pass and then use it in order to book your next one, which is not true. When you book it, it tells you the next time that you can book your next one. So I didn't find that out until like the end of the second day.
Oh, good. Good.
So that's how the Max Pass works. You can start booking them as soon as you scan your pass. So
how much is it? Because you have to pay for it, right? How much?
It's $10 extra a day per ticket.
Oh, that's not much.
No, it wasn't much. So like for each of us, it was an extra $30 to go for the 3 days and have the Max Pass. So I mean, I think it was worth it because then we weren't having to go to each ride. When I realized that they gave you the time, we weren't having to go to each ride and get a paper one. If we were in line for a ride and then our time hit, I just had an alarm on my phone, and so I would just automatically do it on there. It was really convenient. I just think it kind of stinks not having the 3 that you get at Walt Disney World back to back. But I also think there was a lot more opportunity to get fast passes than there are here at Walt Disney World. Like, it's really hard to get the more popular and newer rides at Walt Disney World. We're there, like, we got Mission Breakout and Credit Coaster, Haunted Mansion Holiday, all of that stuff, no problem.
Which one do you like better? Do you like the Max Pass at Disneyland, or do you like the Fast Passes at Disney World? Which one would you prefer?
I would say the free 3 at Walt Disney World, because it's essentially the same thing on the app. It's just the only difference is you have to pay at Disneyland. At Disney World, you don't. Yeah,
it comes with your ticket at Disney World, which I think is nice.
One cool thing is, though, if you don't do the Max Pass at Disneyland, and you did get a paper Fast Pass, if you're in a scrapbooking or anything, they do make pretty cool little souvenirs.
But the thing is like, there's a difference between getting the Fast Passes and the Max Pass. So the Fast Passes at Disneyland come with your ticket as well. So you're paying for the Max Pass to be able to get them on your app on the phone. So that's what Cheddar Biscuits means when he says he likes how we get them for free on our app at Walt Disney World, because at Disneyland you have to pay the extra $10 to get it on your phone. Where, like, if we didn't want to get on our phone and we wanted to go around, we wouldn't have to pay the $10. We would just have to walk to each ride, which would essentially take up more time during our day. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. So basically, if you don't do the Max Pass, it's the way it used to be before you did the app at Disney World, because you'd have to do the paper Fast Passes.
Right.
You have to walk and get it. Gotcha. Okay. Well, cool. So first day, what was the first ride?
Mr. Toad's.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Oh, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. And
it was good. It was kind of dark compared to what we're used to at Walt Disney World. And dark, I mean, like, there was like a bar scene. There was like a weird, like, demonic scene.
He goes to hell is where he goes. He goes to hell.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah. Literally, we were on it. And Cheddar Biscuits was like, we're in hell. And I'm like, oh my gosh, don't say that.
We used to have that at Disney World, but Winnie the Pooh is what replaced it. It was the exact same ride at Disney World, but then Winnie the Pooh replaced it, and now it's just at Disneyland.
Yeah, that was the first time we rode it, and that was the only, like, dark ride we did. So we didn't get to do everything, and we'll kind of talk about that later, like, as far as, like, first visits, because it is very overwhelming going somewhere for the first time and not knowing what to do. Like, I just felt like a sense of, like, when we walked into the park, I was just, like, overwhelmed. And it's like, okay, go on your phone and get the Max Pass. And, like, what do you get it for? Because what's going to be worth it? What's going to, you know what I'm saying? What's where? What, like, so it was a really overwhelming. And like I said, we didn't get to do everything, but the things that we did do, we have a lot to say about.
Okay, so Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and then what did we do the rest of the day?
We went to the Red Rose Tavern for breakfast.
And what is that? What's the Red Rose Tavern?
So
is that
it's
Beauty and the Beast related?
Yes.
You can talk about it.
Yeah, the Red Rose Tavern is Beauty and the Beast related. It's the tavern where the scene where Gaston has his song in the movie with all the men. That's pretty much the whole theme of it. And we went there for breakfast. I had an American breakfast, which was eggs, potatoes, bacon, and Kaley had a Mickey pancake.
Is it quick service?
It was
would
quick
we consider
service.
It quick service? Was it kind of like Be Our Guest, but like in Gaston's Tavern more so?
No, Be Our Guest was way better than the Red Rose Tavern. Breakfast and everything. Yeah. So what we did is, after we rode Mr. Toad's, we saw a cast member because we were like, oh, we're so hungry. It was like 7 in the morning, but none of the restaurants open till 8 because we did get the Magic Morning, which I guess we should talk about. So with our tickets, the 3-day tickets, you get the Magic Morning at Disneyland only. So they have the Magic Morning and the Extra Magic Hours. So the Extra Magic Hours are only for the resort guests. But ours came with the Magic Morning at Disneyland only.
How much was that?
That just came with the 3-day ticket.
3-day ticket? Okay.
Yeah. If you got a 3-day park hopper ticket, I think you have to get the park hopper in order to get it. You get the Magic Morning.
Was it every morning or just one morning during your trip?
It was 2 mornings during our trip. Okay. So because they alternate. So we got it on Tuesday and Thursday, and it was at 7 in the morning, so an hour before the park opened.
Okay. Cool.
So we did that, and that's when we were able to ride Mr. Toad's and all that. But we found a cast member, and we were like, where's a good place to eat breakfast? And so she recommended the Red Rose Tavern. She's like, oh, it's probably the best place here. And so we tried it.
Was it the best place because it was the only one open?
I think maybe because it was like the closest one because we were in Fantasyland, and that's where it is. But my sister had this really good like breakfast flatbread that had like a cream cheese spread, like everything bagel, like the little like seeds that are on everything bagels with salmon, capers, and onions. And that was like really good. It was kind of like a deconstructed bagel pretty much on a flatbread. But as far as like John's American breakfast and my like Mickey pancake, it was just like, it was okay. I mean, if I had to eat there again, I would, but we had a breakfast another day that like completely blew this one out of the water. It's like we literally forgot that we even ate there because it was nothing memorable. Then we went to Space Mountain, right?
I'm anxious to hear Space Mountain. I'm anxious.
I'll let Cheddar Biscuits talk about it because that's like his favorite ride at Walt Disney World.
So at Walt Disney World, I am an advocate for Space Mountain. Hands down, my favorite ride. Space Mountain in Disneyland is amazing. It's such a smooth ride because that's the first thing I'll point out. Regardless if you like Space Mountain or not, it's a little turbulent. It's a little shaky. The one in Disneyland is so smooth. And for thrills, it's amazing. It's so much faster than ours. There's not really much drops in it. It's kind of the same theme as where it just spins around a lot, but it's so much faster, so much smoother. It's just a better ride.
What about the Ghost Galaxy?
Yeah, as far as the theme, though, the Ghost Galaxy, I'm not sure how I felt about it. I'm okay with just the regular Space Mountain theme, but it was a little bit darker, I'd say, as opposed to ours, because we have more lights and the stars and the galaxies. This one, it kind of makes like scary sounds for the Ghost Galaxy theme, but it is way darker in there as well.
Yeah.
And they do projections and stuff, right? Is it? Yeah.
The projections they did, and I mentioned this on my Insta story after we got off, it was more demonic to me. Like, she was like I think it was a girl, I don't really know. But she was like on fire. It wasn't ghostly to me. Like, when I think of ghosts, I think of like white, like, you know, like
Casper.
Yeah, like Casper, like floating around. Like, this was like a demon or something projected. But I mean, it's not that we didn't like the theme. I just, you know, I could live without it.
What was it like riding it side? Because at Disney World, it's one behind another like that. But this one, you're side by side. You're sitting beside somebody. Was that like weird, or
I liked it?
Did it make it better?
I liked being side by side a lot better, especially since this one is much darker. It seemed like I think I would have been really scared being like one behind the other. So I kind of liked it. I wish they would do that for ours. I wish they would just kind of like remodel our Space Mountain in general. And I feel like I've said this a bunch of times on the podcast already because of how like rickety and like jerky it is. And especially after riding that one in Disneyland, I'm like, wow, we definitely need like, I mean, we don't need the layover or anything, but just kind of like smooth it out. I don't know.
Well, I know Space Mountain at Disney World about 20 years ago was supposed to have the same refurb that the one at Disneyland did, but because of budget issues, it got the shaft. Ugh. So we could have had the Space Mountain they have, but money. Anyways, all right, Space Mountain, you guys give thumbs up.
Yep. Then what did we do? Star Tours, or did we do Buzz next?
I think it was Buzz.
We did Buzz next. The Buzz Lightyear. It's this same essential game as the one in Walt Disney World where you're shooting and you're like taking down Zurg, but it was way better. It was more up to date. Just like the guns and the little like seat that you're in just seemed more like renovated. The all the different like areas on the ride where you're aiming at the Z's were up to date. What else, John?
Well, the guns at Walt Disney World, you know how they're attached to the actual ride and you can't really, you just kind of swivel it around. These ones were on cords, so you were able to take them out, move them around, and maneuver a little bit better.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so if like one of us spun the cart one way, it wouldn't essentially ruin someone's shot because you have that cord so you can still turn.
Did that cut down on arguments? Because that would have cut down on arguments with Krista and I.
Oh, for sure.
She always blames me that I spin the cart so that she won't do well. And
no, I know I suck at games like that. Like Toy Story Mania, Buzz, all of those games I'm not good at. So I can't even blame anybody but myself. Like I just don't have the hand-eye coordination, but whatever. It's fine.
Okay, so Buzz and then Star Tours.
And then Star Tours. Star Tours was exactly the same. Nothing much to really say about that. It's a fun ride or whatever, but it was exactly the same. Next we did the Nemo ride, which is the submarine. Which
we used to have at Disney World, but it wasn't Nemo then. It was just 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
20,000, yeah, leagues. Yep. So this was Nemo themed, and it's a 10-minute ride because it goes really slow. So I think that's my only complaint about it, is it's just like...
Yeah, so the Nemo ride was a ride that I was very excited for. I had very high expectations. As soon as we walked into the park, we walked by it. We got there early. We went straight to Space Mountain. And as soon as I seen it, I said, we have to ride that. So I had high hopes for it. And going into it, I was really trying not to compare it to our Nemo ride at Epcot. But at the end, I ended up comparing them anyway. So getting into the submarine, I was really excited. I really liked it, the whole idea of being in a submarine. But like Kaley said, it is a little crammed in there. Like you are elbow to elbow. You're touching the person next to you. It's crammed in there. And it is a slow ride. You do take a while to get around. But I was looking for maybe live fish or something to put it over the top to really make it a spectacular ride, and there was none of that. It was pretty much just props in the water, and you just go around in the submarine, and then there was a few projections like our Nemo ride has, but other than that, you were just going underwater in a submarine.
That's a bummer, because that's one on my list that I was really excited about wanting to try.
I mean, I think it's still worth a try, and I definitely don't regret us going on it. But just kind of looking back on it, it's not a ride that I would do it again. There were rides that we rode the first time we're oh, we're not leaving until we ride it again, and that was just one of them where, okay, one's sufficient. So.
Okay. All right.
After that, we went over to
Big Thunder, I think.
Big Thunder.
Big Thunder.
Oh my gosh, I love Big Thunder.
And we love Big Thunder in Disney World. So
we love Big Thunder. I equally loved the one in Disneyland too. I don't think it was drastically different at all. It was pretty close to the same ride. The only major difference that I thought was really cool was kind of the last scene where you're going through the cave. They have dynamite. But it's kind of you can tell it's animated or whatever, but it's kind of going through the cave. And then at the end, there's a big explosion where red smoke comes out. So it kind of makes it feel a little bit more realistic in that way. But other than that, aside from the dynamite exploding, it was basically the same ride. And we had a lot of fun on it. We rode it once during the day and once at night. And the time that we rode it at night, we rode it in front row, and I definitely wouldn't suggest that because it does slow down for the hills and stuff. So, but I mean,
back row is always the best.
I know we should have done the back.
Well, we were towards the back on our first one.
Yeah, so we kind of wanted to go front row for the second ride, but
just to compare,
we liked it.
Yeah, I liked it.
My whole thing that I kind of realized throughout this trip is I keep comparing Disneyland and Walt Disney World, but in all reality, if they made the rides at Walt Disney World and the rides at Disneyland the same, there'd be no point to go to the other one. So it's yeah, do I wish that our Big Thunder had a little bit more animation or whatever? Sure, yeah. But if it had it, then what would be the point of going to Disneyland? And if, Space Mountain got a refurbishment, then what would be the point of going to Disneyland? I mean, sure, the rides may still be a little bit different because there are some rides that we rode that are the same but were different. But I don't know. It was just, it's hard to not go there and compare. But then at the end of the day, when you think about it, you wish that Walt Disney World had all these things, or you wish that Disneyland had all these things. But if they did, there'd be no point to go. It would kind of take away,
Well, I guess like we're getting the Tron coaster in a couple of years, and Disneyland won't have that. So
Right.
that's something that I feel like though Disneyland has all the things that we want, but Disney World doesn't have a lot of the things that like others want, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. See, that's another thing that I mentioned to Kaley too on the trip was we felt like a lot of the rides at Disneyland were like a little bit better. They were really good rides essentially as opposed to our rides, but they, as far as their space goes for their parks, they're kind of tapped out. As like you said, Walt Disney World is in a world of its own. We just got Toy Story Land, we got Pandora. We're still adding on to our parks, and we still have so much room to build.
That is the thing, though. Here at Walt Disney World, we have much more land to be able to expand, where Disneyland is like you said, it's smack dab in the middle of Anaheim. There's not a lot of places to go. So, I mean, take that for what it is. The one thing is like we're getting Galaxy's Edge and they're getting Galaxy's Edge too. So we're kind of hoping that the rides will be different, maybe, even though it's the same land. Because, like I said, it would take away the fun if they were both the same.
Yeah, I think it's going to be identical, actually.
Yeah, which is like, what's the point of that? Because then that takes away, like a special element from Walt Disney World or Disneyland.
Yeah.
But anyways, so after Big Thunder, we rode Pirates of the Caribbean. This...
And because it's like twice the length at Disneyland.
Oh, it is twice the length. So first impression when we got on it, there was just like a lot of like skeletons, like pirate skeletons. We were like, okay, this is kind of not what we expect. Like, this isn't even Pirates of the Caribbean. This is just like pirate skeletons. Like, we didn't know that it was going to turn into what it did. So as far as thrill though, there are 2 drops as opposed to ours that has the 1, which I thought was really fun. But then once you get out of the scenes where it's the pirate skeletons, the actual Pirates of the Caribbean part is pretty close to the same thing that we have at Walt Disney World. It's just, like you said, 20 times longer.
But like she said, once you go down the drop and you drop right in, it's the same. The drop actually puts you in the same place where our drop places you, right into the ship and the fort, shooting cannons at each other. And from there, it's the same ride.
Right. But we all in all, we still really liked it because it was extended and you got to go through the Blue Bayou, not through it, but you got to go by the Blue Bayou, the restaurant, which we ate at later on in the trip. So that was cool. All right. Next, we had a reservation at the Carnation Cafe.
Okay, I'm really anxious to hear about this.
Okay, well, at first we had a reservation for the breakfast, but then we realized that the Magic Morning was at 7 in the morning and our reservation was at 9:30. We were like, there's no way that we're going to be able to last from 7 to 9:30 without eating. Like, we're going to be hungry.
You got to suck it up, Kaley. You're at Disneyland. Just suck it up.
I know,
Just
but
eat a Pop-Tart.
With the time difference and everything like that. So we, a couple of days before the trip, decided to change it. And I wish we wouldn't have, because the lunch was like...
Oh, surprise. Kaley doesn't like lunch at Disney. Wow. Surprise, surprise.
One of the biggest disappointments. So Cheddar Biscuits and I, like, throughout this trip, we kind of shared a lot because we wanted to be able to try multiple things on the menus. So what did we have? Walt's favorite. We got from, like, because there's a section that says Walt's favorites, and I think they have that at
Fried chicken.
Walt Disney World too. But there was a fried chicken, which Cheddar Biscuits ordered, and that came with mashed potatoes and like a little vegetable mixture. And then I got the meatloaf, which came with mashed potatoes and a vegetable mixture. I should have known myself better, because we know I don't like 50s primetime, and it's essentially almost the same food. A little bit different. They have a lot more like sandwich options at Carnation Cafe, and the sandwiches that my parents had and my sister had were really good. And I was super upset that I got the meatloaf. I don't know why. Because we wanted to try something different, and honestly on the menu they make it sound so good. So
You just don't come across like the meatloaf person. Like, that's just not Kaley, meatloaf. That's just not.
Absolutely not. I should have known myself better. Chicken.
Yeah, the chicken for sure was definitely better than the meatloaf. Not saying, I mean, I personally, I thought the meatloaf was okay, but I'm not really a fan of mushrooms, and there was mushrooms cooked into the meatloaf.
Oh, gross.
Yeah,
Gross.
so I wasn't really into that.
Who puts
But,
mushrooms in meatloaf?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
What the heck?
It was repulsive.
It said mushroom gravy on the menu, so I thought maybe it'd just be on top and we'd be okay scraping it off. But it's actually in the meatloaf as well. So, yeah, that really threw us off a little bit.
Okay, now can we talk about Indiana Jones? Because that's what I've been waiting on.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Indiana Jones is probably up there on like my favorite ride list, like top 5.
So are you on board now to change Dinosaur to Indiana Jones or no?
No, because again, it would be the same. It would be the same thing. I don't want the same things at all the parks.
It is the same thing already, pretty much, isn't it? Let's talk about it. Go ahead.
Okay, it's the same, type of like
ride system.
It is, but Indiana Jones is so much better. Like literally, I can't even explain how much better it is. Even though you can tell it was like made a while ago, because in the Indiana Jones that you see is like not like this amazing animatronic that you see on like Na'vi River Journey or anything like that. But it's so good. So you're kind of like going along with Indiana Jones throughout it. There's a part where you go through snakes and he's like, oh, snakes, you're on your own, because everybody knows that Indiana Jones doesn't like snakes. And then you get like the big ball that almost hits him. And then that's the point. That's at the very end of the ride. And when the ball comes is when you go down that little drop like you do on Dinosaur when the T-Rex comes.
I think what really separates this ride from Dinosaur, because I love Dinosaur. I love the movie growing up. I love the theme of it. So I wouldn't want to change our Dinosaur ride for Indiana Jones either, but I would like them to redo it the way they did Indiana Jones. Now, the reason that I think it's different isn't because of the theme. It's because in Dinosaur, you kind of start off slow. You're going through, they stop, and you scan the dinosaurs and look at them. Indiana Jones, as soon as you look into the temple's eyes, it's action. You're moving the whole time. It's quick. There's drops. It's a rough ride, as opposed to Dinosaur, where you're going and you're stopping. You're going and you're stopping. This one is as soon as you look in the temple's eyes and you're going. It's all action.
So what did we do after that? We took a break, right? We went to the hotel at this point.
After that was... Yeah. After that, I think we took our break.
Yeah, after that, we went back to the hotel because me, Cheddar Biscuits...
Like a tourist.
Yeah, me, Cheddar Biscuits, and my sister had the Halloween party that night, the first night we were there. So that's kind of why we went back to the hotel. We wanted to change and just kind of relax for a little bit. And so we did that, and then we headed back to the park.
For the Halloween party? Was this the Halloween party?
For the Halloween party, yes.
Okay, let's talk, because it's Mickey's Halloween party. It's not Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party. It's Mickey's Halloween party. So let's talk about it. I feel like I know what you're going to talk about, but go for it.
Disappointment again.
Yeah. I told you before you went you're going to be disappointed.
I know, but I mean, you have to try it at least for yourself. So we, there was all the regular treat trails, and we did all those, and we got the good candy and brought it all back with us and all that good stuff. And during this time, we did ride Space Mountain and Indiana Jones again, which was fun. But when it came to the parade, first of all, everybody sits during the parade. Like, we sat in a spot.
Amazing. That's amazing.
And everybody was sitting. So it was nice, yeah. But the parade was like, we waited, 45 minutes or so? And the parade was like 5 minutes long. Ridiculous. I
told you it sucked.
Yeah, the parade wasn't.
The music was just like, when I walked into the park that night, they were playing Boo to You. And so I was like getting all pumped. I'm like, boo to you and you and you and you and. But no, they don't know. It's nothing like the Boo to You parade at all. So the parade was just a major disappointment.
Really short. It was very short.
It was very short. They didn't have nearly as many characters as they had. Like, no Chippendale. None of did you even see Goofy or Pluto?
No. And I would say also the character interaction in their parade is very minimal as opposed to ours. They hardly come over to the guests. They wave at you and that's about it.
But me and my sister got to meet Sally from the Haunted Mansion, the tightrope girl, which I thought was really cool because I've never seen her at Walt Disney World in any sort of aspect. I don't think I would spend the money to do it again at all. I mean...
How much was it per person? Was it comparable to what?
It was $100. $100. I mean, we get the annual pass holder discount here at Walt Disney World, but I still think it was 80 something. I mean, close to 100 with tax and all that stuff. So
not worth it.
Not worth it. No. I would much rather go to the one here as far as parade and character interactions and all that. I mean, they do have a lot more characters roaming around at Disneyland than Walt Disney World, which I liked. Like, we did get to meet Cruella de Vil because she was just, like, walking around. So that was nice, but it was just kind of a disappointment as far as, like, actual meet and greets. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, day 2, DCA, California Adventure.
Yes.
I'm the most excited to hear you talk about DCA, and I hope it doesn't let me down.
No, there was only one major letdown, I think, for us there.
Okay, let's talk about the good stuff first.
Well, the letdown happened in the beginning of the day, so I think we should just talk about it first.
Let's just get it out of the way.
Yeah.
So we got there again, like right when the park opened. So we headed to Soarin'. Disappointment. It's the same exact ride. All they did was change the ending. Like, ours ends at Epcot, theirs ends at Disneyland. So I was kind of disappointed. I know they used to have California or Soarin' California or whatever it was, and I wish they would have never changed it, because for it to be the same exact ride, we were like, ugh. Like, even waiting the 5 minutes, we were like, I would not wait 5 minutes again for this. I can ride it at home. You know,
Bummer.
I don't know. So that was, again, one of, like, the major disappointments of the whole trip was just, like, the Soarin'. Like, that was just stupid. After that, we went to Flo's Cafe for breakfast.
Ooh.
It was so good. We shared the chicken tamale and the brioche French toast, which had like a caramel sauce on it with bananas.
And powdered sugar.
Both were so good. I mean, it was the perfect balance of like a savory breakfast and a sweet breakfast. The tamale had like some scrambled eggs on it with like pico. And just the tamale itself tasted so fresh and so good. And same with the French toast. That was like one of my favorite meals of the whole trip. It was so good.
It was by far the best breakfast we had.
This is when I'm going to start getting super jealous and like angry at you guys for going to Disney.
I know. And it was so well themed. I mean, just walking into Cars Land alone just like blew us away. It was literally like you stepped into Radiator Springs. There was a lot of like snack things there, like in the cones at the Cozy Cone Motel. I mean, like I said, there's so much to do, and we didn't get to do every single little thing. But, I mean, as far as detail, they, like, totally surpassed what I thought it was going to be.
So the Radiator Springs Racers, we know it's one of their most popular rides at the park. The wait...
I just want to throw this in. This was the only time that I got a fast pass for Radiator Springs Racers. Other than that, there was literally, like, none. And it was a really long wait the whole time we were there. Now,
Radiator Springs Racers, me and Kaley, like she mentioned earlier with the Indiana Jones and her top 5, we were kind of putting together like our top 5 rides, our top 3, just making a list. And this was really hard to do, but I have Radiator Springs Racers placed a lot higher than Kaley does. I loved it. I thought it was a great ride. It might be because Cars Land just happened to be my favorite part of the park. It was amazing. It really well themed, and at night it really comes to life with the neon signs and everything. You can't compare. It's just amazing. Now the ride itself, similar, I would say, to Test Track, kind of, but it does have elements where you actually go through and you see scenes from Cars and the characters and everything, and it's really great. It's not quite as fast as Test Track. Now, it does have like some little drops and curves and everything, so it isn't like a straight shot course, but it is definitely a little bit slower.
Would you have waited in the regular queue for it?
If it was, I would wait 60 minutes for it.
I'd agree. I'd say 60, maybe 80.
Something.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I would wait 60. It was a lot of fun.
Cheddar Biscuits isn't really a big upside down roller coaster kind of guy, and he's never ridden one, right?
Yeah. I have never rode a roller coaster that goes upside down. That has always been my one condition, that I will not ride the coaster.
And I have spent the past almost 6 years of my life begging him to go on. So the first time we rode the Incredicoaster, it was just me, my sister, and my dad. Amazing. I mean, the first impression, amazing. Like, the takeoff was fun. I mean, it's just like Aerosmith, except I think it's better because you're outside, so you kind of like feel it a little more. I don't know. And then all of the detail that's in like the tubes that you see.
Cookie, num num cookie.
Yeah, well, you don't really see that till the end, but it's basically the ride is based off of Edna's babysitting Jack Jack. And in the beginning, you hear Edna say, "Oh, the baby's gone." So then the rest of it is just like the rest of the Incredibles kind of trying to get their hands on Jack Jack. And he's doing all of these, you know, his crazy things that he does throughout the ride. So it's a really smooth ride. The only time that it's a little rickety is when you're doing the loop. Like, you kind of like feel it shake a little bit. I don't know why. It just didn't feel as smooth as the rest of the coaster. But it was amazing. So that was the first time we rode it. Cheddar Biscuits and tea.
I didn't get into it the first time.
Let's talk about the rest of the day, and then we'll talk about
Cheddar Biscuits taking the plunge and joining the rest of us, joining the club.
Yes.
All right, so what did you guys do? Pixar Pier. Let's talk about Pixar Pier, because I'm sure you guys spent some time around there after or before Incredicoaster.
Yes, we went to the Lamplight Lounge too. Which was, and we were downstairs, so we were kind of in the downstairs area where they have, that's inside, but it's not really inside because there's not really walls blocking the inside portion and the patio portion, if that makes sense.
What is the Lamplight Lounge? Explain that to everybody.
So it's basically a bar with food and drinks, specialty drinks. Used to be the Cove Bar. Now it's Lamplight Lounge, and it's beautifully themed. Again, like kudos to whoever put that all together, because the chandelier that you walk in, you see sketches of Pixar characters and Pixar movie scenes. You walk into the downstairs area that we were in, you see a huge like light up wall full of Luxo balls and a little booth where you can sit out right there. And then even the chairs that were leather were imprinted with characters on it. Like, one had Edna on it. There's just like a lot of like memorabilia on the walls, like posters and stuff like that, and a lot of sketches from Pixar movies. The food we ordered, we just shared some appetizers because we had an early dinner reservation that same night, so we didn't want to get too full, and we had previously ate at Flo's. So we shared the lobster nachos and the piggy wings. They have piggy wings there. But the lobster nachos were just, they had like a queso on it that was really good. The black beans, the lobster, the tortilla chips they made. I don't think they were house made, but they tasted like they were house made. They weren't like regular tortilla chips. Phenomenal. I really liked them. Cheddar Biscuits wasn't the biggest fan. He doesn't like a lot of like seafoody things to begin with like that. You don't ever order like any lobster dips or anything like that, like
because
I do.
I work around it all the time and I'm always around it. But the piggy wings, I will say, those were really good. And I have had the ones at Epcot for Food and Wine. They are completely different, and it was amazing. They were just really good. The food, even the beverages, the
what
theme.
What was the sauce on it?
Yeah, it did have a lot of spice, but it was almost as if the spice didn't hit you until the end. Like, it was more of an afterthought. It was like a barbecue with like a spice, like a good kick at the end. And the piggy wings themselves, like the quality of the meat and everything was really good.
So Cheddar Biscuits and I love Tower of Terror and Mission Breakout. So it's kind of based off of The Collector. And if you've seen the movies, you know who The Collector is. He just basically has a bunch of things that he's acquired.
He collects.
Yeah. He's acquired over the years. And so kind of the premise of it is you're helping Rocket break out the Guardians of the Galaxy. So he already got out of his cell or whatever he was being kept in. And so that's kind of the premise of it when you're riding it during the day. Now, after 5, they do a different one, which we'll talk about a little later. So when you go into the scene, like, you know, when you go in Tower of Terror and you watch the video. So when you go in for that at Mission Breakout, it starts off with the Collector. So you're basically getting a tour of the facility that the Collector has, but Rocket takes it over. So he cuts the video off and you see Rocket, and the Rocket looks so real. Like, he looked so good as far as animatronics, and just him being as lifelike as possible was really good. So he just kind of takes over, and you're just helping him. When you get to the ride itself, you're automatically going. So you know when Tower of Terror, you kind of go through, you go up, and then you stop, and they open it, and then you go up again, and you go to the towers. Well, this one doesn't do it. This, you're already there in the tower. So, and the thing about this ride is it's a constant movement. So I think there was only like 2 really like long drops. The rest of them were just kind of like, you know, up, down, because there's screens throughout it. Like, the doors open and you're seeing screens, and you're seeing like Rocket run all around, and, you know, getting the rest of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and then, you know, them saying thank you at the end because you helped get it out. And just the music they're playing, like, they're playing the classic Guardians of the Galaxy music that they play, like that old school rock and roll that everybody loves. Like, when we're talking about top 3 favorite rides, it's in my top 3 favorite rides of this trip. It was phenomenal. So good. Like, I would ride this over Tower of Terror any day. Tower of Terror is a classic, and I know, like, there's more drops and stuff like that, but this was just, I love the Guardians. I can't, like, say enough about how amazing this ride was, and it gets even better at night.
The reason I can't put it over Tower is because, like Kaley said, as far as thrills go, it's not the same. You're constantly moving in this one, so the drops just don't feel as high, because in Tower they take you all the way up and they drop you all the way down, and then they just keep putting you back up there and dropping you down. This one, you kind of keep going back and forth. They stop you a little bit, like we said with Indiana Jones and Dinosaur. It's a stop and go as opposed to just straight action the whole time.
Right.
So as far as thrills, I wouldn't put it over Tower, but the theme is amazing.
There was like 2 big drops in it, but the rest, it was like a constant. But I think it changes it. Like, it feels more thrilling because of how loud the music is too. So at night, I mean, it's the same, like, you know, but basically this time you're helping Rocket get Groot. So all of the creatures have escaped their cages that the collector has, and so this time you're helping Rocket find Groot. So again, they have the music. It's a different song this time, though. Different projections. Like, they just completely change everything. Like, when you're walking in, all the screens aren't going because, you know, it's after hours.
All right, so that's going to do it for this episode, part 1 of Kaley and Cheddar Biscuits Disneyland trip report. We had a lot to talk about, so we wanted to split this up into 2 parts so you didn't have to listen for a really long time. So next week, we will have part 2 of the Disneyland trip report. They'll talk about the last day at Disneyland, and we'll find out how Cheddar Biscuits did riding the Incredicoaster for the first time. So if you have any questions or comments for us, you can email us, waltzworldpodcast@gmail.com, or hit us up on Instagram @waltzworldpodcast. So with that, I'm John.
And I'm Kaley. We'll see you next week.